Okay, welcome back. Okay, here we go. They are out on an adventure. Ben does not have a good feeling about this. He's probably right. Um, Chapter 11, Green Face. There was no sign of Mr. Tabby as Pearl and Ben tiptoed through the lobby. A mischievous smile spread across Pearl's face. Sneaking out of the hospital was much more exciting than clipping the Sasquatch's toenails. She had hoped to meet the amazing creature today. She had hoped to have an adventure. Her dreams were about to come true. But as soon as she unbolted and opened the front door, her smile quickly faded. Mrs. Mulberry's car was parked just beyond the locked gate. Mrs. Mulberry sat on the hood, peering through a pair of binoculars. Victoria Mulberry, now fully dressed in a frilly pink dress, leaned against the car, a book propped in her hands. "Yoo-hoo!" Mrs. Mulberry called, and she slid off the hood and flung herself at the fence, her red overalls bright against the black bars. "I see you, Pearl Petal. I see you, Ben Silverstein. Let us in." "What are they doing here?" Ben asked. "They're pests," Pearl said. "Just ignore them." What about locking the hospital door?" he said. "Remember what happened the last time we left it unbolted?" "Of course I remember. The Sasquatch got out, but he's fast asleep upstairs. We don't have to worry. Besides, we can't bolt it from the outside. Come on, we'll be right back." Ben and Pearl walked around to the far side of the building. Unseen from the road, this section of yard had grown wild with weeds. The grass reached to Pearl's knees, and as far as she could tell, it hadn't been cut since the button factory closed. So once what had been a manicured lawn had turned into a field of dandelions, daisies, and the occasional thistle. One of the thistles reached under the hem of Pearl's basketball shorts and scratched her knee, but that didn't slow her down. As she crushed the overgrowth with her flip-flops, the scent of dirt and dampness rose from the grass. Ben was close behind. He didn't move as quickly, his legs being a little bit shorter than hers. Pearl was pretty sure she could beat him in a race. "What if the creature's dangerous?" Ben asked. "You are such a worrywart," Pearl said. "I'm not a worrywart," Ben insisted. "I just think that we should go back because my grandfather told me to stay away from the lake behind the hospital. He said that once, a long, long time ago, people were swimming in there and this giant whirlpool appeared and it sucked them in, and they haven't been seen since." Pearl didn't miss a single step. Determined, she said, "Did you just make that up, Ben?" She learned during their last visit that Ben did like to tell stories. Yeah, okay, I just made that up. But the truth is, I don't want to get eaten by whatever that thing is." Pearl didn't want to get eaten either, but she wanted to find out more about this green creature. "It's not going to eat us, Ben." "You can't know that. What if it ranks a 3 on the danger scale, or a 4, or even 5? "I'm not scared," she said. They hurried around the corner of the building so that they were now behind the hospital. After crossing the grass, they stopped at the edge of the lake and looked at the water. Their reflections stared back at them from the surface, which was as smooth as a table of glass. Glossy lily pads floated in little clumps here and there. Except for a pair of mallard ducks, nothing appeared to be swimming above or below. Pearl turned around. Tree branches were visible behind the third-floor windows, but all of the other floors were dark. "Do you think anybody's watching us?" she asked. "Not that I can tell," Ben replied. "Good." Pearl ran onto the rickety old dock. Some of the planks had rotted through, and so she stepped carefully over those. Creaking sounds arose as she made her way to the end. Hoping to get a better view, she knelt and peered into the water. "It's murky. I can't really see how deep it is." Taking small, cautious steps, Ben soon joined her. "Do you think that thing lives on the island?" And he pointed, and a small pine tree covered island sat in the middle of the lake. A sandy beach ran around the island's perimeter. "Maybe," Pearl said, getting to her feet. Cocking her head, she listened, but only heard normal sounds. birds twittering and the wind. She took a deep breath and cupped her hands around her mouth and hollered, "Hey, green creature, where are you?" Ben gasped. "What are you doing?" He looked over his shoulder. "If you yell like that, somebody at the hospital is definitely going to hear you." "I want that creature to hear me," Pearl said. She was about to call again when a ripple appeared at the far end of the lake, disturbing a patch of lily pads. Uh-oh. Ben took a step back as a green head slowly emerged. Higher and higher and higher until the head hovered above the lake. Pearl and Ben gawked, their mouths wide open. It was a moment of pure wonder. "It looks like a sea monster," Ben whispered. "A sea monster," Pearl whispered back. "An actual sea monster. But it's living in a lake. How can it be a sea monster?" "Well, maybe it's a lake monster, like the Loch Ness Monster." "The Loch Ness Monster?" Pearl kept her voice low. Yelling had been a fine thing to do when she had tried to get the creature's attention, but now that she was face to face with its enormity, she thought it best to be quiet as possible. She leaned close to Ben, aiming her hushed voice at his ear. "Do you think this creature is related to the Loch Ness Monster?" Ben shrugged. "I don't know. I thought the Loch Ness Monster was just a hoax. I thought all those photos were fake." Pearl knew exactly what he was talking about. There was a book called Terrifying Secrets of the Loch Ness at the Buttonville bookstore. Before she had been banned from the store, Pearl had spent many, many mornings there, tucked into a far corner, reading whatever suited her mood for the day. The book was filled with photos of a monster that supposedly inhabited the Loch Ness, a lake in Scotland. The pictures were always grainy, mostly shot in black and white, of a long-necked creature that looked a bit like a dinosaur. None of the photos offered a close-up view or any details like facial expressions or skin texture, so she concluded that the sightings were all hoaxes, made up. "Well, this lake monster is totally real," she whispered. Stretching its neck, the creature ripped pine needles from the tops of a tree. Water dripped off its snout as it munched, its jaw moving leisurely like a cow chewing cud. And when it swallowed, a big round lump traveled down the length of its neck in slow motion. "Cool," Ben said with a burst of enthusiasm. Alerted by Ben's exclamation, the lake monster turned and looked toward the dock. It stopped chewing. Its eyes narrowed. "Oh no," Ben said. "It's coming this way," and he took a few steps backward. Pearl wasn't sure how to react. Part of her wanted to retreat to a safer distance, but the other part of her couldn't believe her luck. Compared with this amazing creature, the Sasquatch seemed so ordinary. She slowly raised her hand and waved at the lake monster gliding through the water as it was getting closer and closer and closer. "Wow, it's really big," Pearl realized. "Really, really big." And she took a couple of steps backwards, just to be on the safe side. "Do you think it's as big as a dinosaur?" Ben appeared to be frozen with fear because his feet weren't moving at all, nor was any part of his face. As he stared up at the monster over the dock, the green scales, each glistening with droplets of water, covered its face and neck. It lowered its head until it was eye level with Pearl. They stared at each other. Pearl found it hard to breathe, not because the creature smelled fishy, but because she was laughing, gasping, and squealing all at the same time. Was this truly happening? Was she seriously face to face with a creature as big as a brontosaurus? Or wait, was she dreaming? The monster snorted and sprayed Pearl's face with flecks of goo. "Yep, I'm wide awake," she told herself, wiping her face with her lab coat sleeve. The basketball-sized eyes blinked at her. They contained every color of green Pearl had ever seen, from Robin Hood green to four-leaf clover green to the green of lime sherbet. The lashes were jet black and curled at the ends. Pearl's reflection stared back at her from the creature's irises. "Oh, you're beautiful," she said. It flared its nostrils and sniffed the top of Pearl's head. Pearl wasn't sure exactly what to do. Should she run? Should she call for help? Nothing this large had ever smelled her hair. Maybe Ben was right. Maybe they should have stayed in the forest suite, clipping toenails. Being jabbed by a flying toenail was a lot less dangerous than standing mere inches from a real, living, breathing lake monster. The monster bent its neck and sniffed Pearl's toes, and then with a graceful lunge it reached past Pearl and grabbed some grass at the edge of the lake. It chewed the blades contentedly, its eyes half closed. Everything was okay. No one was hurt. No one in trouble. Pearl and Ben sighed with relief, their shoulders relaxing. "That was kind of freaky," Ben said. "I thought it was going to eat you." "Me too," Pearl admitted. And then, ever so slowly, she reached out and patted the creature's neck. "The scales feel soft and slippery. Do you think it's a girl or a boy?" "I don't know," Ben said with a shrug. Cautiously, he reached out and touched the scales. "Ooh, kind of slimy." The creature just kept chewing, didn't seem to mind one bit the two humans were petting it. "Come on, aren't you glad we did this, Ben?" Pearl asked. "How many kids get to pet a lake monster?" Ben smiled. "Yeah, it's pretty cool." The monster swallowed and then turned and sniffed the top of Ben's head. Ben froze again as the hot breath blew through his hair. "Kind of tickles," he mumbled. The monster sniffed Ben's lab coat, and then his brand new sneakers, which were now covered in grass stains. "I told you we weren't going to get in trouble," Pearl said with a little laugh. It was funny to watch the creature nudge Ben with its big snout. Sometimes it's okay to break the rules. And that's when the lake monster wrapped its mouth around Ben's middle and picked him up right into the air. Stay tuned. See you Monday.